we're going to start with this main function with so many errors. The goal is to fix the error, but let's look at what we have here. Two local variables are start of day and end of day. So it's like a time object. So the time object will keep two instance variables, hour and minutes. We can construct the object in two different ways, without parameters, and it will automatically initialize to 0, 0, or with two numbers. Then in this case, the hour will be initialized to 23 and the minutes will be initialized to 59. Okay? And in addition to the constructor, we are going to add some operation here. Let's say I want to add the time object with an integer. The intention is to advance the time and you will get a new time object. Okay? Or you can do divide. So if I want to know the midday, if I know the start of day and if I know the end of day as two time objects, and how do I know the midday? Then it will be easy to just use simple arithmetic, divide by 2. Okay? And this is going to be new. Let's say I want to update, I want to alter the end of day, the hour of end of day, and I'm going to use this magic square bracket. So you know how to use square bracket for arrays, but now we're going to use square bracket with a time object. Okay? So the intention here is to alter, I think I should put 5 p.m., right? Not 4 p.m. The intention here is to alter the minute data in my end of day. Okay? And I'm going to also use the square bracket on the right-hand side. So I'm going to use both on the left-hand side as well as on the right-hand side. Okay? So then I think you know how to read the code. And last line here is how to work with output string, so to be able to print an object. So in Java, it is easy to print an object because Java has the toString method, right? Whenever you do system out println, you put an object in your string, then the toString of your class will take care of the output to your system out. Okay? We don't have that in C++. We don't have toString, but we do know how to overload the behavior of left shift that we can apply to an object. So, what do we need here? Tell me what to do next in Eclipse. Yep, we need to create a new class. Okay, so I'm going to create a new class, and then I'm going to say new class, and the name of my class is time. Okay, and I just type time there because if you look at the two boxes here, so Eclipse will create a .h and a .cpp for you. Okay, and click finish. And yes, you're going to see two more files. So let me put the two files side by side. There we go. And let me bring the other one to the middle. There we go. And now we can adjust the width. So what do I need to add in my interface, in my .h?
Started. The method started.
What method?
The constructor started.
We do have the constructor. We have one. Oh, I misspelled time. Sorry. I don't want to use uppercase I. And let me just change that manually here. I want to use lowercase I. Okay. It doesn't matter. The file name is with uppercase I. Okay. So I do have a constructor to handle line 14 of my main, right? Because line 14 is a declaration of a local variable with no parameter. So then automatically line 14 will use the constructor on line 13 here.
So then you need to add one that takes two integers.
Yep. Okay, we need the second constructor that takes two integer. Then you do that in your interface, and of course you need to repeat the same step in your implementation file in .cpp.
Is there any way to get Eclipse to generate a skeleton source code or an implementation from an interface?
No, CDT is not that smart. Okay? Now, of course, we need instance variables, right? So what are the instance variables we need here? Hours and minutes. Okay? And what do I do inside my first constructor? Initial.
Hours equals 0, 0, and minutes equals 0.
Okay, that's good. And what do I do in the second constructor?
Hours equals age.
Yep, good. What do I do in my destructor?
0, amount, null, delete.
Remove the pointer from
Delete.
Hours. You can't delete them on one single line with a promise? No.
Like that?
Yeah.
Nope.
Could you just remove the pointer?
Okay.
And then it'd be overwritten eventually.
Delete can only be used with a pointer. But our instance variables, hours and minutes, they are not pointers. So we cannot delete them. Okay, so delete can only be used with a pointer. Whenever you call new, you get a pointer. The opposite of new is delete. So delete is to delete a pointer that you get from new. Okay, that means if you try to compile this file, it will say delete is something is not valid. Okay, it will take that long. Yeah, but you cannot delete an integer. Okay.
Can you delete this time?
I assume you meant this arrow time,
Yeah.
like that. Okay. But time is not an instance variable in our class.
So should we just set it on?
Set it on.
Hours,
No.
no pointer, like that. Okay, makes sense. But
No pointer.
again, if you say not PTR, then the left-hand side has to be a pointer, right?
So maybe you just
Just make it null.
Then we don't have to do anything. Okay? Nothing to delete, nothing to destruct, nothing to destroy. In that case, just delete the constructor altogether. We don't need destructor. We don't need a destructor for this class. That's why for the homework one, the rational number, you don't need a destructor because nothing to destroy. Okay? So just delete. So if I compile, then the first two lines, the error from the first two lines are gone. But now we need to take care of the addition of an object with an integer. So the intention here is to add a time object with an integer that will return a new object with the time advanced by that many number of minutes, right? So how do I take care of the operation of adding an integer to a time object? What do I need in my interface?
Setter.
What do I need here?
operation.
Operator, okay. What operator? Okay, operator plus. And does it take an argument? An int, exactly, which is the number of minutes, right? Okay, what does it return?
Void.
And then
Void. Okay, let me give you, I heard void, I heard int. Did I hear something else? time, okay. Which one should we use? Void, int, or time? Time is correct. Tell us why.
Because it starts
Is
with
a time object.
Because you can see from here, the intention of this operation is to add 521 minutes to the current time, to the start of day object, and it should give you a new time object that now you can update into start of day, right? Okay? So the right-hand side, the result of plus has to match whatever type of the left-hand side object. So in that case, I cannot return void, I cannot return an integer, so it has to be time. Any question about the return type of operator plus? Okay? When my code looks like this, okay, when my code looks like that, then the return type doesn't matter. Okay? When my code looks like this, line 17, the return type doesn't matter. Okay? But since you see that now I want to assign the new time object into the left-hand side, that means the only possible return type for operator plus is time. Okay? So let's write the definition of time operator plus in the implementation. So what do I write here? Tell me what to write. Time, colon, operator plus, int, minute. Is this a const function or non-const? Const, exactly.
you're not modifying the minutes.
Yep, because we are going to return a new object, right? We are not going to alter the current object. We will return a new time object with the time advanced by that number of minutes, okay? So then I need to say const on that side, but the function declaration is incomplete. What is missing?
Return type.
The return type, okay? Remember what you put time in there, time here is not the return type, time is the scope, okay? Time is just to scope the function name operator plus, but you do need to put the return type, which is a time object. Okay, question about the signature, the definition of this operator plus? Yes, Jesse.
Didn't we put const inside of the parameter before? Does it matter? I thought we did like int, min,
Okay,
const.
two places for placing, well, many places for placing const, okay, not just two. One possible use of const is here. Okay, so we put const with the parameter, okay? So when we do that, then we are telling the compiler that we promise that inside this function, so this is a function, right? We promise that inside this function, we are not going to alter x, because const is applied only to x, okay? But when we put const here, okay, then we promise to the compiler that this function is not going to alter any variables of this object.
Okay.
So we have to return something, right? What do we return here?
Whatever we call our time object,
Do we have a name?
to return.
Okay, that means we have to declare to return, right? And how do you initialize that object?
Just semicolon.
Curly bracket, doesn't it?
Curly brackets, because for initialization we want to use curly brackets. What do you put inside?
No, the time of the previous
Time of the previous object,
No.
time of the current object.
So,
I want to initialize this with the current object because remember, the intention of this operation is to update, and not to update, but to return a new object based on the current object start of day, right? But you want to advance the minute of that object by 521. Okay? So then the toReturn object has to be initialized with this object. You're close, but there's an error.
This dot, or isn't it this dot min, or whatever time for that is? Or it's not dot, 'cause isn't it
It's this
carrots? Yeah. Right.
Like that?
It's not a pointer though. It's an integers, right?
This is a pointer.
Oh, okay. Because
Ours is an integer,
yeah.
but this is a pointer.
Okay.
Okay?
should,
Still
yeah,
need to add the units.
it's over there. Maybe scroll
Is that-
over.
No, I mean, within.
It's, what is that?
Oh, to that
What's up
object?
to add?
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, any question about that line?
that's.
What are we doing here?
Initializing it to the current time.
Yep, which constructor are we using? This constructor, right? So when we write line 22, we're practically using that constructor. Okay? Because this constructor takes two parameters, right? Okay, two integer parameters. Okay? That's one way. That's not the only way. This is correct. So this is option 1. Okay? Option 2. Option 2 is even much shorter. And you will just say start this. Okay? So what happened with line 24?
You added all the pointers. From
Con-
this
The
object.
contents of this object. Okay? So I have a time object pointer this. That will be the current object, right? Remember, this is a pointer to the current object. So now star this is the current object itself. Okay? But now the question is, which constructor I'm using when I run line 24? Louder.
Copy.
The copy constructor. You see that? We don't have the copy constructor here, but it will work. Because if you don't use one, if you don't write your own, there will be a default copy constructor generated for you. There will be a default copy assignment generated for you. That will be a default move constructor generated for you. Okay? So either one, it will work. Yes?
Haven't you not added the minutes that you took as?
Yeah, this is not complete.
Okay.
The code is not complete.
Okay.
Okay. So either one, right? So let me put the two. Okay. So then just put that inside if else. So then my comment is there basically. Okay. So depending which option you like. So and then after you have initialized the toReturn object, then I want to do toReturn minutes plus equal mint. Did I use mint? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I want to use min only. And then of course you need to adjust the time, and then you need a while loop. While toReturn minutes is greater than 60 or greater or equal 60, and you want to increase toReturn hours by 1, and then you want to
Why don't you just take the minutes and mod it to 60 and add it to hours?
yeah, that will work too. Yeah, you know how to do this stuff, okay? So my main point is not to show you the logic. That's like 162 type of question, right? Type of problem, okay? So that one is good now.
You dropped an I on the end there. In the, next to the.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that line should compile. Okay, that one works. Now, any questions so far?
So when you refer to this, when you're modifying an operator, it's only talking about the object to the right of the equal sign.
Which one are you referring to?
When we modify the plus operator, if we look at where we implemented it
Yep.
in the 260 or the CS263 time CPP,
Mhm.
you're referring to the object on the right of the equal sign, yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
So just look at that expression only, right?
Right, that's all you can talk about?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Right. So start of day plus 521 will invoke this function.
Right, and then the equal sign
Yep.
is just, so it's all just shorthand in
Yeah,
reality?
yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to see the longer start of day plus 521, the longer code will look like SOD dot operator equals
Okay.
parentheses, long parentheses, SOD dot operator plus 521.
Okay.
Okay? Because we have two operators, right?
Right.
So the first operator is the plus, and the other operator is the equal.
Okay.
Okay? So we are good with that. And how do I take care of line 18 now?
Make another class.
Make another plus, but that plus has a different.
Two time objects. So it'd be time operator plus, and then time, whatever you want to call the time object,
Yep.
and it too should be.
Is that good?
Now you need to name a variable.
You need a variable. Is that good?
Sure.
No.
You do more than
How can you do better?
Have your pointer.
Not pointer, but
Reference.
reference. Alias. Right? Anytime you try to pass an object to a function, always use reference.
What's
Okay.
the advantage versus a pointer?
Reference is easier to write. You don't have to mess with arrow.
Okay.
Okay? It's more natural to write your code using reference.
Okay.
Okay?
So it reads better?
It reads better for you.
Okay.
For the compiler, it's the same.
Okay.
Okay? So I want to use reference, but I know that my operator plus will not alter t, right? I know that for sure, right? Because I will return a new object. I'm not going to alter t. So it's better to declare t with const. Yes?
Is there a benefit to naming the variable in your .h file?
Yes, because most of the time when you create documentation for your project, the documentation will likely generate it from your .h
Okay.
file. Yeah.
Based on how we implemented the operator plus or around the integer, would you also put const on that as well? Because we didn't modify the minute, or does it not matter?
For non-object, const is implied.
Okay.
Right? For primitive type, because int is a primitive type, const is implied.
Okay.
Okay, good. So then we can now complete the the function operator plus, the second operator plus function. Maybe I want to move it down here. There we go. Okay, so now I can write the second plus, and the second plus will look similar to the first plus. Time operator plus and const time t, and then it's a const function. Okay. Okay. How do I reuse my first operator plus? and I want to copy again the while loop and so on and so forth.
Call it
Call it. How do I call it?
time operator. Yeah, and then you would pass it an integer from your original time object. So
Which is what?
T dot. You have to convert the hours.
Yep.
to this, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, Ryan.
When using, or like when the,
Yeah. Yes, maybe.
when using this, do you pass in a pointer to an object then? To like to the function, like when you're using this like in a,
Are you asking me that?
no, I'm just saying like if you're using this, like if you're using the, in like the main program, when you're using it, do you pass in a pointer object or just a time object?
Time object, right? So here when we call the plus, we just use time object plus integer.
Okay, oh, then does that give it the pointer?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Internally you will get a pointer. This is a pointer, but when you call, when you use the object with a plus here, you don't use pointer.
Okay.
Okay? But internally you will get a pointer to the current object. Okay? So any question about that?
That works, but we need more.
We need more what?
We need an object to return, so time to return. Oh, you can just return that. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So again, if you are confused, remember operator plus is just a function name, right? Just a function name. So you're calling another function. This function now takes an integer value, right? Which is that function up here. Right? Yes?
Why is your return type time, why is that, does that not have an ampersand?
Good question. Good question. Why does not have an ampersand? Okay. So look at what we do in the first operator plus. We declare a local variable. So tell us where local variables will get allocated.
Stack.
Stack. Exactly. Okay? So when you declare the return type to be an alias, remember an alias is just, a reference. A reference is just an alias, right?
Right.
That means if you put an ampersand in there, your intention is to return an alias to a stack object, to a time object on your stack. But you know that whenever the function exit or the function returns, the object on your stack will disappear.
So it becomes garbage data?
So it becomes garbage. We don't want to make an alias to an object that is already disappeared from the stack.
Okay.
Okay? So that's why we don't want to put a reference here. We do need to return by value. Because when you return by a value, then what will happen is the local to return will be copy constructed to the left-hand side start of day.
Okay.
Okay? So a lot of things going on here. You call the function, you create a local variable, you pass the integer, and you create a local variable. The local variable is created on your stack, and when you return, because the return is returned by a value, then the local variable from your stack will be used to create another object using copy constructor, and that object that copy constructed from to return will then get copied into start of day. Okay? Can you repeat that story?
So it copies it twice.
Say it again.
It copies it twice, yeah.
Why twice?
Because you create it, so you send it in first, and then it goes and it calls the other thing, it sends it in there.
Yeah,
And then
you're
you
right.
return
Yeah.
a copy of that
Yeah.
thing that you nested for the first time, then you jump up one
Yeah.
point, it's another copy.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
exactly. So the first copy construction takes place here,
Right,
right, at line 25,
right.
because you're creating a local variable from the current object that will be using copy construction. And then the second copy construction will be happening again line 34.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Good. So I'm glad you understand. So now we need to take care of divide by 2. Right? So how do I take care of divide by 2? What do I need now?
You do a left shift.
Do I want to use left shift?
Right shift.
Right shift? What operator do you see there? Am I using a left shift?
No, it's division.
I'm using division, right? That means I do want another operator, and this time my operator is divide. Okay, do you see that? Okay, because what happened here is I have an object, a time object, that I want to divide by 2. Okay, that means my next function should look like that, and it's again a const function, and it should return a time object. Okay? Question about the divide? Okay, good. Yes?
So how's this divide by 2 gonna work? Like what exactly are you dividing inside that object?
You remember a time has hours and minutes, right?
So are you gonna be dividing them separately, or are you gonna be like combining them together and then dividing them?
It's up to you. I don't really care about the logic inside your divide function. Okay? It's up to you how you do it. But it will be similar to what we have done before.
You forgot to name your argument variable.
Naming argument in your interface is optional.
Okay.
Yeah,
A capital I in time in your scope.
thank you. Actually, that's not a scope.
Oh, down,
That's the-
down below you do.
Oh, okay. Okay, so again, you know the routine now. We need to create a temp object, time object TMP, or we call it to return, whatever. And you initialize it from the current object. And to make it simple, I'm just going to, or just, yeah, to return that hours divide by val. I just make it simple. I don't want to make it too complicated, okay? And then divide by val each one, although the result may not be accurate, but that's not the point of my lecture today. Okay? My goal is for you to understand how to use operator overloading, okay? So that will take care of the error on line 18 in my main. That error will disappear, and the more interesting part is to implement the brackets. Okay? So we know that you have to use brackets, right? So the function name is operator bracket. Okay? So what argument does it take?
String.
A string. Do I put string in here?
No.
Okay, good. You put string in there. Is it a const function? Or is it non-const?
Not based on line 20 and CS263.
On line 20, the bracket is a non-const. You're right. But on line 21, 22, the bracket is const.
So the difference is
Right? Because on 21, 22, we are using the bracket on the right-hand side. That means that's a const type of operation. Are you with me?
yeah.
Okay? But we use the bracket on line 20 on the left-hand side. It cannot be a const. It has to be a non-const, because the intention of that code is to update the hour of my time to a new number. So there's no way for us to make it a non-const. So then, how do I take care of that? Because here I need a const. Here I need a non-const. For those two lines, I need const. What do I do?
We have two operators.
Yes, just declare both. Okay, one is const, the other one is non-const. So we use the const when we call it from the right-hand side, and we're going to use the non-const when we call it on the left-hand side.
So is that taken care of? Oh, okay, I see. We're just gonna, got it.
Okay, you make sure you understand the two brackets here, because you're going to see this again in the next chapter of your textbook. Yes, Ryan?
So it automatically knows which one to use.
Yeah, yeah. The compiler is smart enough, because you're in line 20, you're calling the bracket on the left-hand side, so then it will invoke the non-const. And on line 21, 22, the bracket is used on the right-hand side, it will be invoking the const. Yes, Jack?
Why is that better than just having one that's non-const?
Because you need both.
You do?
Yeah. You need both. Otherwise, your code is not going to compile.
So the compiler will scream at you if you put it with just non-const, just the non-const function.
Yeah. If you just use one, not the other, and you in your code you use the brackets on both sides, your program is not going to compile. Okay. So we know the function const property, but now the question is, what should be the return type? Because it is a function that has to return something, right?
The top one would be void, and the second one would be an int.
Nope.
No, that's the opposite way.
What happens if I use void on the right-hand
Oh,
side?
you're not gonna return what you want.
You're not going to be able to assign, right? Because then if you use void for the right-hand side, then the right-hand side of 21 will return void, and you want to try to copy a void into an integer. Okay? It doesn't work. So that one has to be
And,
an int.
and the other one's void.
The other one is void.
That makes sense. So this. We have to do backwards.
Nope.
It'll just be time, because you're gonna have to create a new time.
Okay. Let's see. Let's see the three options here. So I heard int, I heard void, I heard time. So we need to look at that. We need to look at the end of day. Okay, so end of day dot operator brackets, and you say hours equals 17, right? Okay? We know that the right-hand side is an integer. That means the left-hand side has to be an integer. It cannot be void, it cannot be time. Do you see that? Okay? Because the effect of calling that function, the bracket, is calling that function, and because the right-hand side is an integer, then the left-hand side has to be an integer. Okay? Any question about the return type of the operator, the non-const?
So it has to be the type of whatever it equals.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way we do it now, then here the return type of bracket on the left-hand side has to be an integer.
Is it because it's returning the 17?
No, because you're going to put 17 into the object, right? So the intention of this statement is to update the hour of end of day to a new number,
I
to
guess
5 p.m.
Yeah, I guess where I'm getting hung up is why wouldn't you just directly modify the hours in the time object and then just return that time object? I know it's slower, but that's what my mind is saying that happens here.
How? Like this? What do you mean modify directly?
So when I unpack what's happening,
Yep.
mentally I'm saying, open up the time object, plug in 17, and then I'm done, so return nothing.
He's saying modify hours.
Yeah,
in
what I'm
your-
saying
in
is,
your
what
function.
I think is happening is you're basically opening up end of day, plugging in 17, and that's the operation. I guess
Okay.
a mental disconnect of what's actually
Okay.
happening.
Okay. I see that. So end of day hour equals 17, right? If I expand the operation, it will look like end of day dot operator bracket and then hour dot operator equal 17.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Every time you see an operator, think of invoking operator something.
Okay.
It's not just operator like for primitive type.
Okay.
Okay? Think of any operator, whether it's a plus or a minus or a greater than, less than, whatever operator, think of as invoking an operator function.
So,
So if you look at that statement, okay? So now, the left-hand side, so the 17, when we call bracket, we don't know anything about 17.
okay,
Okay, when we invoke bracket, we know only hours.
okay.
That's the only input that we get when you invoke bracket.
Okay.
Okay? Any question? So then, we need to return an integer.
Can you clear ones like constant and non-constant?
Could you repeat your question again?
Constant and non-constant one?
Non-constant?
Yeah. Like we are not modifying. Why you use constant and why you do not use unconstant?
Okay, because when we use bracket on the left-hand side, okay, the way we do it now, the intention for the bracket operation is to return something that I can modify. Okay? I want to return either the minute or the hour of my object that I can modify with a new number. Okay? So that's what happened in line 20. But in line 21 or 22, the intention of the bracket is, please give me something, and I'm not going to modify that something. Please give me either the minute or the hour of your object, and I'm not going to modify it. Okay? Does it make sense now? Why you use const and non-const?
Yes.
Okay.
So for line 21,
Line 21 here.
yeah, it's actually for the operator in line 20.
Yes.
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 So
Yeah,
they're just
I put a
two-
comment here, left-hand side, right?
I'm confused about that part too,
Okay.
because in my mind it should be switched around. Like line 20 should go.
Like, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how they lined up originally, yeah.
Okay. Is it better?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, I need to make that a reference. Without reference, it's not going to work. Why?
Because
Okay.
you need to pass the actual object to modify.
Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, you're just gonna throw it to a temporary object and it's just gonna be lost.
Yes. Okay? When you return an integer, what is being returned is a copy of what you returned. Okay? So when I have a function, something, and when you return x, whenever you return by value, because line 21 here is returning by value. So when you declare a function to return by a value, like this, and at the end of your return you say return x, what is being returned to the caller of this function is a copy of x. Why do we have to copy? Because we know that x will disappear. because X is allocated on your stack, when the function is about to return, everything on the stack will disappear. Everything on the stack that has been allocated for this function will disappear. So it's not safe to return this X, because this X will disappear, so then we have to return a copy of X. Okay? So that's what happens when you use copy by value. But if you put address, okay, if you put, I mean, not address, ampersand, sorry, if you put a reference, so now the interpretation of this return, your X is now an alias. Because remember, reference is just an alias, right? So now what is being returned by X is an alias to what you have in your stack, not a copy, right? Totally different. I start to see blank face again. Okay? Here, I do want to return an alias. Remember, reference is an alias. I don't want to return a copy. I do want to return an alias to the hour or an alias to the minute. Do you see that? Because my intention here is to be able to modify the hour or the minute of my object. Then if you need to modify, I don't want to return a copy. I want to return an alias to the hour of my object or the alias to the minute of my object.
So that would be like, that's actually opening up the object and changing the number in place?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, Jack.
So does that mean for any function that's not constant, the return type would be reference?
You cannot generalize. You cannot generalize like that. It will be different from case to case. Okay? So, again, any question about why we have to use an alias there? Okay, let me repeat. Okay? So again, the intention of this function is to be able to modify part of your object using the bracket, right? So we want to return either the hour of my time or the minute of my time. Okay? When you return as a const, it is okay to return a copy, right? Because then the function, when you invoke the bracket on the right-hand side, whatever value on the right-hand side is not going to get modified. Okay? But when you call a bracket using this syntax, you need to be able to modify the hour or the minute of your object. That's why you have to return the alias of the actual hour and the actual minute. We don't want to return a copy. So, yes, Ryan.
Is that because it's in an object? Or like we're trying to change the variable in an object?
Yes. Yeah.
How we use that? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So here, my goal is to be able to get an alias to the hour of my object. I don't want to get a copy of the hour. I want to see an alias of my hour. Okay? So that's why you have to use a reference. So how do I write the two functions? So let's write the first one. So then the scope would be operator bracket, and the parameter is a string, and we call it index, right? And this is the non-const. And what do? I just need to check if index is hour, then you return the hour of your object, else you return the minutes of your objects. Simple. What do I do with the other one? Thank you.
And also time for the scope.
Thank you. So how about the other function? The other function is exactly the same, except I just need to change that and add const. The logic, the if else is exactly the same.
And scope and return.
Scope, yep, thank you. Okay, but again, let's look at what happened when you call the two functions. Then here, because the return type is an alias, so then whatever being returned is an alias of the hour of that object or the alias of the minute. Okay, but here, oops, I made a mistake. Oh, I have 3 copies. No, I don't. I need only 2. I need only 2, right? Okay, that's good. Okay, there we go. So here, when I return, because the return is by a value, not an alias, then what is being returned is a copy of the hour and a copy of the minute. Okay? Not the minute of the actual object, not the hour of the actual object, but the copy of either the minute or the hour. Okay, so if I compile, then the next 3 errors should disappear, and we should be able to take care of the last, except for what is missing. I have an error in here. So my error is because, oh, I don't include string. I have to include string. Because I'm using string, then I have to include string and using namespace std, compile, and it should work. Cross a finger. Yep. Okay. Now how do I take care of the next error here? So this is when I need to provide another function that will allow me to operate an OStream object with a time object, right? So let's take a look at that expression here. So that expression, if I expand that expression, basically it says cout, I want to output mid, and just take a look at that one. Okay, mid of it, I didn't write the complete variable name. So now you can think of that operation as either cout dot operator left shift mid. So that's one possible interpretation of the operation, or the second operation is operator left shift cout comma mid. One or the other, right? So if I want to implement option A, I have to place operator shift inside my OStream class. If I want to do option B, I don't have to put that function inside my OStream. So B can be just a standalone function. But A has to be a member function. Member function of OStream. Okay, so there's no way for us to modify the OStream class because the OStream class is given from the library. You don't have the code of OStream, but I do have the code for time. So now we can just use the time class to declare that function. Okay, so the function name is operator left shift, and it should take 2 objects. Okay? Question so far why I'm using this function here? Not 1 parameter, but 2 parameters, because I'm going to use a standalone function, not a member function. I'm going to use like a function outside of a class. Okay? And you know, anytime you pass an object, always use reference, right? For efficiency, you don't want to use pass by value. You want to use pass by reference. And we have to give a name. Let's call it OS for output stream, and let's call it T for time. Okay, now we are missing the return type. what should be the return type of my function? Output stream. Reference or value? Reference. Tell us why. This is correct. Almost. This is almost correct. Tell me why you want to use a reference.
Because you don't want to have to copy again.
You don't want to create another copy, exactly, right? Will it be a problem to return a reference?
Well, also you have a stream that you're gonna add on to.
Yes. Okay. We have the incoming stream that we want to modify using more data, right? We want to output more data to the stream. Okay. So now the return is just return the original stream. Oh, Devin is
Extra end
gone.
method. You have an extra close bracket in that method.
Oh, okay. Oh, I placed that in the wrong. I mean, I inserted in the wrong place. My thing. I want to do it here, just to keep in the same order. Okay. Now, we know that when we output the object to the output stream, we are not going to alter t, right? So then, what should we do? Cons. Good. Can we do cons for OS? No. Because you're going to modify the stream by adding more data to it, right? You're gonna output more bytes. And what do I do with OS? What do I want to print? T dot. I want to print the minutes, the hours, and the minutes, right? I want to print t dot hours and then separate the number by a colon and then t dot minutes. That's it. Almost there. Okay, except it's not going to compile. Okay, what's wrong with that? Can I do this here?
You're using the same function within to describe the function.
I'm using the same function with what?
Using the operator's left arrow within the.
Okay, let's compare this left arrow with that left arrow. Okay, so this left arrow is an operation between an O stream and time. Okay, but this left arrow is an operation between an O stream and an integer. So the two are different. Okay, because this is like an integer, it's not a time object anymore. But this is an operation of an O stream between an O stream and a time object. So they are different. So what's wrong with our operator left arrow? We are trying to use private variables, right? Because hours and minutes are private variables in our class, okay? In our time class. Those two names are private. Okay, but the function operator left shift is not a member. This function is outside of your time class.
It's a big friend.
Friend. We need to declare this function as a friend of time. So the easy way to do it is just to copy the header of your function, copy, and then bring it to your class and paste that there, and then just put the keyword friend in front of the function declaration. Yes?
Why can't that just go into the public? Why can't we make
It doesn't matter. Friend doesn't have any association with public, private. Oh. Are you asking me to move the public, the two variables to public?
Yeah, why can't, instead of being a friend, why can't it be an operator public?
So what you're suggesting is to change that to what?
I was just wondering if we could put in, just leave friend right there.
Like this?
Why can't you do that? Yeah.
Okay. When you put an operator inside a class, the assumption is the left-hand side of that operator has to be this class.
Oh.
So remember when you do a plus, we do a plus, the left-hand side is the object, right? When you do divide by 2, the left-hand side is an object of this class. When you do bracket, the left-hand side is the object of this class. But for this cout, the left-hand side is not object of this class. So that's why we have to use a standalone function because the left-hand side is not the object of this class. Okay? So that's why we have to use friend. So it compiles and it will run, and then let's run it, and then you can leave. Something wrong?
Bottom right, time 71.
What is the error here? OS. Did I include OStream? No, I didn't include OStream. Yep, I need to include OStream. Yep.
Change the I on the header.
Include
No, it's also the name of files.
include OStream,
Yep.
and it should compile.
The name of the header changed also.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I need to change the name of the header.
At the time.
Well,
At the very top of the include.
at the top of the class.
Okay, yeah, it should work because I tried this in my 3 p.m. Thank you. I will see you.